Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Hey everyone. Duncan here, and I got Arnell here as well, and welcome to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show. We're so excited you can join us. We have a great guest lined up for you. And on the Firebelly Social Show, it's our goal to highlight, to profile, to shine our light on founders of mission-driven food and beverage brands. So it's something we do, and it's our way of making the world better. Highlighting all these founders that are making the world so much better and doing so much for the industries that they're in. So, Arnell, what's up?
What's up, Duncan? And thanks, everyone, for tuning in to this latest episode of the Firebelly Social Show. Today, we have a great show lined up for you today, talking with Jordan, President and CEO of La Tierra de Acre. This episode is brought to you by Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-based food and beverage brands bring people closer through social media marketing. So if you're ready to use social media to create more community and excitement around your food and beverage brand, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more.
Guys, I'm so excited about our guest today, Jordan Haddad, who comes from the world of finance and mergers and acquisitions and is a badass young entrepreneur with a passion for developing, launching, and expanding small businesses, young businesses. And he's got these brands that they're doing amazing things. So with no further ado, Jordan, welcome.
Thank you, Duncan. Thank you, Arnell. Very nice to meet you both, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Hey, give us a story, Jordan. How did you make the jump from finance to Mescal, and what's the story behind the brand?
Yeah, happy to talk about that. So it was a pretty unique journey. I definitely never saw myself going in this direction. So as you mentioned, I was working in finance for the first few years out of college, first in investment banking, then I had an asset manager for a couple of years. And it was a great experience, but I knew that I wanted to go down a more entrepreneurial route with my life. And I certainly did not know that it would take me to this, but I was at dinner in Cabo on vacation, and the host of the resort I was at recommended that we go to this new restaurant, Acre. So I went with my family. We're sitting down. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. The owner comes by, checks in on us, sits down next to us. 45 minutes later, we're all still talking. Became pretty quick friends, pretty close. And for my birthday, a few months later, he gave me an original version of the La Tierra de Acre Mezcal that they had. So what they had been doing on the resort is, one of the mixologists there was a huge agave spirits fan, and she started bringing in small batch mezcal from different regions around the country, and they were bringing it in and bottling it. Like when I first met them, they were doing all their labeling and bottling in a little back room at the resort. It was a real bootleg operation that they had, and the guests were really enjoying it. And the resort and the restaurant were really coming into its own, and it was a really incredible platform that they had. And we started talking, and one thing led to another, and ultimately we decided to partner on this thing together and share this vision to bring their mezcal to the world. And it's really been an incredible way to showcase, not only we're able to showcase an amazing mezcal production that comes from awesome villages, while at the same time being able to share the resort lifestyle and leverage that platform.
So they really like sister brands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're completely tied at the hip. We offer free mezcal tastings every night to the guests who are coming through the restaurant. It's, a lot of people talk about like, who's your celebrity for the brand? That is our celebrity. The resort is our celebrity. It's an experience that people get to have every day, and we're very lucky to be partnered with them.
Awesome. So what makes your Mescal so different? I know, you mentioned the resort, What makes it different? What makes it so unique?
Yeah, so I'll start off by saying there are many, many great mezcal brands out there who are making fantastic mezcal, and I think that we are right up there with all of them. I don't know if there are, I wouldn't want to be the one to go out here and say that we are the one brand who's making the world's best mezcal. I think that there's many that share that title, and really it comes down to people's personal tastes, and we have incredible producers who do things in a sustainable way. At the same time, we're able to share their information and their stories on the bottle, while also being able to share the story of the resort and the lifestyle aspect and that very unique bohemian Disneyland way of life they've cultivated down there in Cabo. So I think in that sense, we're pretty unique.
That's super cool. So it sounds like you have this perfect marriage between the resort and the mezcal, and there's all these layers around it. Is that must be really exciting to work on, because it's almost like, hey, how much should I include, and how do I include all of that and make it so immersive? Because it sounds like if you go to the Acre Resort, you're immersed in the brand immediately.
Correct. Yeah, it is. It's not like you're being beaten over the head with the mezcal bottles, but from the time you walk in, it is very green. It's incredibly pretty. It's really a one of a kind space down there, and that's the experience that we want our customers and our fans to have, while still being able to get their mezcal tasting and their cocktails and everything at the bar. But yeah, it really is about that immersive experience. And then the other half of that is the actual made in Oaxaca and made in Durango mezcal experience, which comes from small indigenous villages, really unique places. And it's very rewarding to be able to work with villages like that.
So, I mean, just before we get to the next question, I want to dive into that a little more. I know that music plays such a big role in smart brands' ethos, right? And I say smart brands because most brands don't even touch the music. Is music in that part of Mexico part of the brand experience, or part of what happens at the resort?
The resort has incredible music. They bring in unique local artists all the time, and it really adds to the experience of the resort. Tapping into the music world is something that I think we would like to do as a brand, probably a little more over the next couple of years.
Awesome. Great to hear.
Very cool. What about sustainability? I know that that's a really important part of the mezcal. And also, when we talked about relationships with the locals, how does that all work and marry in together?
Yeah, so sustainability, for those who don't know, it's a really important topic in the agave world. To give a high-level overview, the agave plant takes at minimum 7 years for it to grow to its maturity, depending on what species of agave it is. Some plants will take 25, 30, 40 years until they reach their maturity. So what you've seen is that as the industry has grown, it's exploded over the last decade. It's created a bit of a supply-demand challenge where people are trying to plant enough agave in order to keep up with the demand, because a decade ago people didn't necessarily see all of this coming on as strongly as it has. So there's all sorts of ways that producers around the industry, and our producers specifically, have worked to combat this. So a few things that we do. We have two amazing families that we work with. The first is Honorado Cruz Molina. His family comes from a tiny village called Santa Ana del Rio in Oaxaca. It's a 500-person indigenous Zapotec village. Some of the stuff that they do is they repurpose their agave waste. So in the process where the agave fibers are fermented and then distilled, it leaves behind what's called a bagazo. and this is like tough string. We're able to repurpose that and make it into ropes and bricks and other things which serve not only his production, but also the local community. He also allows half of his more exotic, longer living plants, that would be our Tobala and Tempestate varietals of Mescal. So he allows half of those plants to grow to full maturity. And what that means is that they are not used for Mescal production, but when the plant blooms and flowers, it's pollinated by the local bats in the area. And that pollination right there, they then plant more seeds themselves. It's good for the long-term sustainability, biodiversity of the plant, etc. Our other producer, his name is Jorge Burciaga. He's from Valle Florida, Durango. So that's more northern producing mezcal state. A lot of people don't know that mezcal can be produced outside of Oaxaca. So it's very nice to be able to showcase mezcal being made in different regions like that. So he works with what's called the Cenizo variety of agave, and he cultivates a nursery of the baby Cenizo plants. It's a plant that generally grows wild around the hillsides in the area. It's very abundant in the area, but he cultivates a nursery, and then when the plant is about 2 years old, he will take it, scatters it around the area and the region, and it's just continuing to keep the supply of agave outpacing the demand.
That's phenomenal. I mean, mezcal is I've never met a mezcal I didn't at least like, but I'm pretty sure that most people have no clue about all of this information and wisdom that you're sharing. And Arnell and I were talking a couple of days ago about how vodka has become such a saturated space, and if you don't have a niche or a very specific approach with vodka, you're almost doomed, from the onset. But mezcal seems to be one of the hottest spaces in the spirits industry.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers on me right now, but I want to say the industry's doubled over the last 5 years. It's especially popular on the coast, and especially in California, really. And just looking at the way things go, it seems like there's still there's a long runway ahead for growth throughout the rest of the country as well, which is good. It's going to provide a lot of opportunity for different brands to be successful.
Totally. And why do you think that growth is? What kinds of innovations or trends are you seeing in the mezcal community?
Yeah. So in one sense, it's certainly piggybacked off of the tequila boom, which is fortunate. But on top of that, I think the spirit itself has so much going for it, and over time, more and more people are recognizing that. So there's no additives to mezcal. It's like on our website, we say the only ingredients are agave, water, and love, and that's true for most well-made mezcals. It's not a health drink by any means, but it is better for you compared to most other spirits out there because there are no added sugars, no additives. It's a very organic process. And most mezcals have an incredible story behind it. Like having been to Oaxaca and Durango and seeing the real artisanal production of where this comes from, it's a really remarkable process. That's more art than science. All the romance of it, and from my view, is totally true, and it leads to an amazing story. And then last is it tastes great. It tastes great, and the breadth of flavor that you find between different brands and between different varietals, it's just so interesting for people to dive into. So I think it's really tapped into a lot of people's nerdy instincts, really in a similar way that wine does, where they love to break down the region and the grape and the terroir and everything. Mezcal also does that.
That's awesome.
I know you got another one. I know you got another one. I can see it on your face.
I was gonna ask, so what makes tequila and mezcal different? Or what are the differences, if there are any?
Yep. So a few things. So for starters, tequila falls under the mezcal umbrella. Mezcal is generally defined as anything that is distilled from the agave plant. But the main differences that people associate are, one, tequila is made from the blue agave. So you probably have noticed that on the bottle, right? It always says 100% blue agave, blue Weber agave. So that is the specific species of agave that exists. People are still working on categorizing all of them, but it's generally accepted that there's probably a couple hundred agave species out there, and maybe 40 or so have enough sugar content in them that they can be used to make a spirit. Mezcal is defined as coming from any species of the agave plant. So like we have 4 SKUs ourselves, and I've referenced that a few times. So sorry if that's been confusing. Each one of those is a different species of agave. Like I like to think of it like different grape varietals in one. So that's difference number one. Difference number two is the production methods. So generally, mezcal is made in a much more artisanal, old school process than tequila is. By and large, tequila at this stage in the game is made using large steel ovens or diffusers, and it's pretty large production. Mezcal, by and large, is still very small batch. They roast their agave. They roast their agaves underground. It's open air fermentation. It's crushed by tahona, usually by a horse or a mule pulling really like a giant wheel around the circle to start crushing the juices out. Like it really is a small batch process. And then the last one, wait, why am I blanking on the last one here? Oh, the regions that's made it. So tequila is made in Jalisco. By law, it's all under the denomination of origin. Mezcal legally can be produced in 10 different states. Most mezcal, I want to say like 80% is made in Oaxaca. So that carries just with it different, a different culture, a different area of Mexico. And that's just how it works.
Well, that's pretty layered. The size of the production, the geography, the origin of the plant, the way it's prepared, all leads in there. On a super granular personal level, how do you like to drink your mezcal? And even not only how, but what do you like to drink it in? You drink it in a stone cup, a wood cup, a glass cup?
Yeah, that's a great question. Personally, I like it neat. But I will say we believe that you should drink your mezcal however you like it. If you like it in a cocktail, if you like it on the rocks, more power to you. So some people are pretty, I don't know, but I don't want to say snobby, but they really try to emphasize that you should drink spirit as it comes. We generally feel that whatever makes you happy is the way to go. Usually for me, it's neat. I've got a couple of stone copitas that I purchased in Mexico, and yeah, it's a very nice experience being able to sip our own mezcal through those.
Arnel, I hope you heard that, the copita. So we need to get some copitas so we can drink this authentically. And then, do you can you share? Have you consumed or had your own mezcal in a copita with the mezcaleros?
I have, and I've also really within Mexico, they'll often drink out what's called jicaras. So it's like a pomegranate gourd shell that that's carved out and hardened. And when you're there, I will not forget from my first trip down to Oaxaca. They take these things. I wish I had one with me, but yeah, they maybe to take it, just dip it right on into the vat and offer it to you. And it's generally considered rude to not finish it all. Mm-hmm. So when we're there, we're trying 4 or 5 different mezcals, and each one's like a cup. It adds up, and it's an experience that I won't forget.
It's
That's
kind of
awesome.
like, it's kind of like the most important question becomes what time of the day do you begin, right?
Oh yeah.
We're gonna go at 8 o'clock. Arnell,
Earlier than you think.
That's a vacation.
and speaking of the mezcaleros, and the two families you mentioned, it's like they must be, I guess, thankful or happy to work with someone like you and your partner who understand the tradition and the authenticity behind the whole craft. And I feel like small is beautiful and can be monetized, where typical business is like scale it.
Yeah, well, first of all, I would say we're grateful to be working with them. They make incredible mezcal. They've been super reliable to work with, and it's been very nice to be able to expand, and hopefully we'll continue expanding our production with them. But yeah, being able to showcase what they do is good. It's good not only for them, it's good for us. And so far, it's been a really successful partnership that hopefully continues on.
When it comes to one of the things that Arnell and I always love to do is to make sure that we don't wait to the end to ask our guests, where can people find your product?
Yep. So currently we are distributed in California. If you're outside the state, we are fully available online. Just go to latierradeacre.com. You'll have an easy shop link right there, and go ahead.
Awesome. So let's say there's some people, in our audience or who's listening, and they're thinking to themselves, hey, Jordan, I'm going to your website. Can you, one of the founders, can you tell me which mezcal should I order first? My name is, I love the Beatles. I'm going to order my first bottle of mezcal. Abby, by the way, is one of our colleagues, and is very open to these kinds of rich cultural experiences. So, if Abby wants to go to the website and order her first mezcal to consume on Saturday in a copita, which one should she order?
That's a great question. So first thing, I would ask a little more about what are you doing with your day? Is it going to be a relaxing day? Is it going to be an active day? What I will say is what we've tried to do as a brand is mezcal is often associated with being smoky. And we are relatively light on the smoke compared to a lot of other brands out there. It's a nice gentleman's smoke on the finish. So it's very approachable to a new audience as they come in, while still being amazing, amazingly produced mezcal. But for starters, I'd probably recommend our Cenizo varietal. So this is the one that comes from Durango. The agave is hand crushed, and it also won double gold at the San Francisco Spirit Awards, which was really awesome for us when we were just getting going as a brand.
I mean, shout out to Abby Thomas, and we're gonna expect you to be buying a bottle of Cenizo, not only for yourself but for all of us. And we're gonna toast Jordan. We'll probably FaceTime you, Jordan, and say, "Hey, Jordan, this one's for you, baby." But
happy to. I'll walk you through the whole process while we do that.
Kind of a related question, in terms of accessibility. What's happening, and help me with the pronunciation. What's happening with mezcal focused bars in this country? Is that a thing? Is it happening? Is it easy to find them?
Oh, absolutely. And certainly I'm most tuned into the LA market because that's where I'm based. But there are lots of bars, and it seems like more and more are popping up that are really emphasizing the agave spirits. One that comes to mind is Gracias Madre, right down the street from me, has an incredible selection, and we've started a partnership with them. But I'm seeing articles all the time about new agave bars popping up in different markets everywhere, Midwest, East Coast, South. So it's really nice to see.
I think we'd heard about Espita in Washington, D.C. as being kind of like a flagship of the movement.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I think you'll probably find a couple hundred bottles on the wall there, and if I'm sure if you saddle up, you start talking to the bartender, you can find yourself going down the rabbit hole.
That's fascinating. I know. Arnell, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like you guys have had a lot of success. And then you mentioned, winning some awards in a short period. What were some of those turning points for you in this brand? What were some of the big turning points, and success stories?
Yeah, so we've been through a lot of changes as a brand since we launched. So I first launched this thing in January of 2020, which is really timing I would not recommend for anybody for starting a new brand, especially when our goal at the time was to really get going in the on-premise with the bars and the restaurants. And then a few months in, there were no restaurants. So that changed things super quickly. And we wound up using that time to figure out what was going right and what was going wrong with our production and our label and our look. So we wound up making some pretty significant changes to the branding and to the positioning of the product itself, and we're really happy with how all that turned out. We're also fortunate where we've gotten some great distribution in California. We've been able to add a sales team. We raised some money via an equity crowdfunding campaign on Start Engine, which was a very interesting experience, and that's been a great bringing, of partnering your shareholders with the brand itself. So, yeah.
That's pretty phenomenal. One of the things that I want to make sure that we do today is to thank you, not just for coming on the podcast, but for having this vision and the courage to do this, and to bring something truly different and meaningful to the world. Your contribution is so appreciated by us.
Well, I really appreciate that, but I'm very fortunate to be able to partner with one our producers who they're doing the real hard work out there, and to the resort, which is just such an awesome platform, as I mentioned, to be partnered with.
What a humble guy, Arnell. So let's rephrase it and say, okay, thank you to all of you for what you do. I feel, we're so excited about what you're doing. So it's been a real pleasure to be here with you today. Anything else you wanted to shout out or tell people?
Please, all I would say is if you haven't given Mescal a try before, or if you think that you don't like the flavor profile, I would say you probably just have not found the right Mescal for you. So try one of our bottles, try another brand's bottle, just give it a go, see what you think.
Yeah, go to La Tierra de Acre.com and immediately go to the Cenizo and get started, so that you can tell Jordan what you think, and you can start out on your Mescal journey.
Awesome. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Jordan. Everyone, you've been listening to another episode of the Firebelly Social Show, and Arnell's going to take us out on a message.
Yes. So this episode is brought to you today by Firebelly Marketing. At Firebelly, we help mission-based food and beverage brands bring people closer through social media marketing. So if you're ready to use social media to create more community and excitement around your food and beverage brand, go to firebellymarketing.com to learn more.
Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thank you, guys.
We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.